Up here. What about it?
The family has to afford the kids lunch and, you know, provide the kids lunch to survive. And it gives them a social break.
You know what I see here? Emotion. This is a topic that obviously gets you fired up. Because your gestures are faster and more emphatic. So I would go so far as to say that the other group behind you here has equal emotion about particular pieces of subjects that fall under education, especially financial costs, because that's a big one.
Book cost.
Right? So tell me what it is that emotionally gave you that response. What is it about cafeteria food that got you fired up or upset?
Oh, okay.
Remember, writer's purpose.
How about transportation?
The kids get excited about having lunch and lunch break and socializing and the food, and they're hungry and they need the energy.
Are you talking about your child?
I'm talking about, I was talking about myself growing up and my experience, and my daughter's experience. And, you know, I'm deaf and she's not, and we went different ways as it goes.
So let me ask you this question to the whole audience here. So how many of you think that children would rather have hot lunch from a cafeteria than the sandwich that you make them at home? Raise your hand if you think they'd rather have hot
I
lunch.
think they'd rather have hot lunch. It's fun.
As opposed to the sandwich made at home. Some of you guys think the sandwich made at home? Sandwich made at home, interesting. So when I was a principal, I noticed that the kids, even if they had their own sandwiches made from their loving mother's home kitchen, would still try to eat other children's hot lunch. Because something about the hot lunch was more exciting to them. Whether it was the food, or perhaps just the experience. So now here's why I'm bringing this up. What can I take from that personal experience that I just shared, or Sandra's personal experience about having this experience with a child who wants hot lunch or doesn't want hot lunch? What could I put up here in regards to cafeteria expense for a sentence? Go ahead.
Okay. I agree, yes, with what you just said. They have a lunch schedule for my daughter. My daughter is picky. Like, Mom, I want that for lunchtime, and other days I want it from home. So I try to explain to her, for me, as a single mother, it's hard to budget. So really, you need to use the cafeteria for financial reasons. It's provided for free for you. So it's hard. It's not the same here as in college, where I have to pay for my own lunch and other things. So it's different. Or we're lucky if we have FAFSA to help us with our tuition.
Okay, we don't want to stray from our subject. So our subject here, yes, we don't want to stray. So FAFSA paying our tuition and whatnot. We want to stick with the cafeteria expense. So here's our subject. Okay, she brought it up. It's in there. It's somewhere in there. Let's help Sandra out to define all of that stuff going on. All of these words, all of these experiences. I need something that I can write about in a paragraph, okay, that's small enough to describe fully. The broth tastes good is a lot better than the soup is made with 50 ingredients. Okay? Cafeteria expense is better than discussing education as a whole, or the financial expense of education. How do I break down to a paragraph about cafeteria experience? I would go so far as to say that I don't want to use my own personal experience, so I just want to share something ambiguous. How about children as a subject? Children? Yeah? Can we use children in there somewhere? Sure. Children. And we're going to break these down even more and get more specific, but children. What about children?
Children prefer to eat hot food versus made from home.
Children prefer Sandra? What do they prefer? You have kids?
Hot meals.
Hot meals?
Hot meals. Hot lunches.
They like the socializing part, actually.
Okay, so we'll say why later, but first we want to just say what they like.
The children like,
She says, Ginger says hot meals. Is that a good one?
Based on my experience.
yeah, hot food, hot
Everyone
meals.
else's.
Ginger. Hot meals. All right.
Like I said, it's free. Children, when they're a younger age, they get free lunch.
Now, hold on a second. Now, here's what's interesting. Here's what's interesting. We're going to take a little break for a minute. Here's what's interesting.
Mine did.
If you write the sentence, children prefer hot meals. Now, we're not, okay, guys, listen. We're not talking about rocket science yet. Okay, this isn't necessarily college material, or is it? Think about it. Children prefer hot meals. Okay, we are actually really on the verge here of discussing collegiate material because there's so many different ways we can go with this. All right, let's find out how we support this statement. Children prefer hot meals is our topic sentence. It has our subject for our paragraph. Okay, we're going to learn what those things mean in a minute here when we come back from break. But children prefer hot meals.
But
You
how do
hold
you
on.
know?
She said socializing was actually why they like the meals. Is that a good reason to? Is that a reason we can use to support this statement?
Yeah.
Well, we could, but it doesn't directly connect to the fact that they prefer hot meals. It has to do with a different subject, doesn't it? Children prefer to socialize over a hot meal would be the way we might state that, so that our focus would be the socializing, not the hot meal. But in this case, the way we wrote it, the meaning of the sentence is children prefer hot meals. So what is it that we have to focus on? The preference of hot meals, right? Why do they like hot meals? What can we use as an example here in Monterey? What's the weather like 90% of the time? Cold and rainy, right? Well, not so much with the
No
rain these
rain.
days. God willing, we
Fog.
have some rain. But foggy, right? Can I say a foggy day produces cold weather? Hold on, I'm just going to do something right before our break.
And a lot of kids have to either walk or ride the school bus to school, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I know after walking, you walk to school, by the time you get there,
How about this?
you want maybe something hot.
Check it out. Look what I just did here, guys. If it says children prefer hot meals, a foggy day produces cold weather. A hot meal warms a student.
Yeah, that's good.
Are these things connected?
Yes?
Mark, question or answer?
Well, it's just a theory, but it does take time to prepare a hot meal, particularly breakfast, before you go to school. It's faster to eat a cold breakfast.
Well, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So we can
a hot
argue.
meal, like particularly at lunch, is something revealing in the middle of the day.
Got it. So maybe we can look at this from the standpoint of being a critical thinker, like you're doing right now, and making a determination as to which side of the argument we want to go toward. There's always going to be two sides. Another piece of collegiate writing, when you argue a point, there's always another side to the argument, isn't there? How many of you have siblings or have sisters or brothers, right? Guarantee you when you get into an argument, there's always the other side of the argument, isn't there? And they usually have it, don't they? Because they want to win. But notice what's been done here. Up here, I have two sentences connected. Is that right? Yeah? Soup, broth, tastes good, right? Broth tastes good. The next sentence is that consumers agree to this, right? Supports it. But notice this one. There's a degree of separation between my sentences. Do I get back to my original idea? One explains the other, doesn't it? I'm building a paragraph. You follow? It's a train of thought, but it's one that makes sense because I'm returning to my original idea. Okay? So that's kind of a lot to take in right now. Let's take about a 10-minute break. We'll come back and I'm going to put this out into grammatical terms, okay? No 10 minutes. I'll see you guys back here at 12:05 or 12:06. We're going to do some work.
So are you coming?